One of the things that we saw, well, really the main theme of what we saw yesterday was that he was saying that God created us and the neshama with this intelligence that we spoke about in an earlier session when you were here, gives us mastery over all of creation, physical and non-physical. And maybe I elaborated a bit on the point that in this way we were actually created b'tzelem Elokim, because it is that name, Elokim, which denotes God's rulership over creation. And we were created specifically in the image of Elokim. And in this way, we were also therefore given the power to control over creation, to control creation. And the author went into different examples about how righteous people were able to manipulate and have control over not only creation, but even over God, as it were, by commanding certain things, and God therefore being obligated, as it were, to do those things. We gave examples of prophets and righteous people and so forth and so on, and we elaborated on each
dates of Yom Kippur and things like that.
Yes, very good, and yes, very good. And also, he was talking about specific events like prophets calling fire to come out of heaven, or punishment to be brought upon the wicked, and other types of things. Where a tzaddik goes there and a Kodesh Baruch Hu Mekayim, the tzaddik, the righteous person, decrees, and God fulfills the will of this tzaddik, this righteous person. And so since each instance that he gave was a whole story on its own right, I kind of elaborated and even embellished on those stories to just to illustrate the point. But that's the main theme here that I was saying, that it's this neshama with our intelligence and our enlightenment which actually gives us control over all of creation. And we have to use that power responsibly, and it happens primarily when a person is connecting. It happens when a person is connecting to the will of God. So that when a person does the will of God, God does that person's will and bidding. And that's what the explanation behind the different examples he gave here of prophets and the righteous people. So that brings us up to page Reish Nun Bet, the last paragraph on the page. U'komo she'ha'elokim yodea umevin achor v'kerem, and just as God knows what was and what will be, ken ha'odom she'noson lo ha'elokim chochma, so too is the case regarding a person who God imparted him with wisdom, that he's able to foresee things in the past and the present. U'komo she'maspik ha'elokim v'noisen lechem l'chol basar, just as God is able to provide for the needs of all living things, ken ha'adam mechalkel b'nei beso u'mesharasav uvehemtoi, and so a person is able to provide for the needs of the members of his household, his servants, with his wisdom. Again, also in this way, we are. This is another way in which we are created b'tzelem Elokim. God sustains the world. A person is able to sustain with his wisdom his household. And just like God gives reward and punishment, ken adam, so a person does the same. And just as God builds creation, is the foundation for the earth, spreads the heavens, and sets forth the seas, ken gam ha'adam asui livnois v'liyased v'likrois v'lhakvois v'lhazriya v'lhatzmiach v'lintoya v'lasois kol davar. So too a person may also build, lay foundations, make ceilings, bring water together, plant, cause things to grow. Well, seed. Plant seeds, meaning cause things to grow, to plant trees, and to do many other different types of things. Ach beyigia usula'a, even if it is with effort, v'kol b'ratzon borei, all is according to the will of Shem. Because He gave us this wisdom, we're able to do the types of things that God Himself does. U'kamo she'ein kol birya yechola lirois es Elokim, and since not all creatures can actually see God, kach ein yecholes l'shum birya lirois es neshama, so too, no one can actually see the soul. So there's another comparison. Just as God, well, the Gemara actually says this. The Gemara says this in Brachos. There are 5 ways in which God is compared to the soul. One of which is just as God sees and is not seen, so the soul sees and is not seen. Just like God knows the future, ken gam ha'adam be'es asher yanuach ruchoi v'gufoi milasoik ba'amal tzorchov v'yanuach v'yishkot ruach ha'chaim milisasek b'tzorch yaguf az yirei b'chalamosov asidois v'yirei ruchois mesim u'mekomois sheloi ra'a uvnei adam sheloi ra'a udvorim utumunois gedolois mashu enu yichol lirois kishuhu er. Very long sentence. Let's go back to that. And just as God knows the future, so to a person, when he is at rest and his body is refraining from being involved in things and work, v'yanuach, and he relaxes, v'yishkot, and he's quiet, ruach ha'chaim, his living soul, misasek b'tzorch guf, from being involved in procuring the needs of the body, line 4, az yirei b'chol mosav asidos, then in his dreams he'll be actually able to see the future. V'yirei ruchoi semesim, and he can actually perceive the souls of the departed. U'makomo shelo ra'ah, and places which he hasn't ever seen, his soul will be able to see. Uvnei adam shelo ra'ah, and also he'll be able to envision people that he's never seen before. Udvorim utmunos gedolos, things, images of great things. Mashu enu yichol liros kshu er, things which he cannot see when he's awake. So either what he means is, I suppose what he means is, when a person is awake and he's busy, his soul, because it's entangled, enmeshed in matters of the mundane, it's not able to see the things that it can naturally see because of its being the soul. But when a person sleeps in his dream, he can have revealed to him things about the future and also people and places and things that he's never seen before. Regarding the people and the places and the things that he's never seen before, I'm not sure if he means to say that he's just imagining it through the power of the dream, or does it mean that it's more prophetic, like he initially suggests, that during the dream a person can see the future. Initially I thought what he means is, just as a person in the dream, through the liberation of the soul from mundane matters, can see the future, so too it can see people and places and things that it never saw before, not out of just imagination in the form of a dream, but actually because it's conveying some message. But now, after having read it again, I'm not sure if he necessarily means that. But in any case, the point is that the mind's imagination is very, very powerful. The power of the mind is very powerful. We all know that a dream can be even greater than real life. One person wakes up from the dream and says, "Oh gosh, why did that have to be a dream?"
The opposite.
Yeah, or the opposite.
Yeah.
So the reality that's created by certain dream states are even more intense than what we normally perceive as real. It's quite interesting. So what's really real? And just as there's no creature who knows the mysteries of God, so there's no person who can really know the inner thoughts of another person. Because again, the soul is being compared to God. So just as nobody can understand the essence of God, nobody can really penetrate the inner thinkings of the soul. Only God can read the person's mind. As it says in Tehillim, Hashem Yodea machshavos Adam, God knows the thoughts of a person. Uberov dvorim yidmei ha'adam me'at mizer lelukim. And in many ways, a person can be compared to like a miniature God. That's the power that we have. That's the next paragraph. According to the small degree of power and short lifetime that was given to a person by God, God also added to all of these powers of human beings that we've discussed the ability to do good or bad. Right? The evil inclination and the good inclination. The evil inclination for good or for bad. kedei lebachano, in order to test the person, ulinasoso, in order to try him, ben tov ben ra, between good or evil, uchodei lehisnos, in order lehisnos, to beautify himself, livnos, v'rintoya, to build, to plant, laharois, to destroy, la'akor, to uproot, ularog, uliaser, to kill and to cause suffering, litzbar hon, attain wealth, ulilachem, to wage warfare, limshol, to assert his power, his control over, v'lishlol, to take away, negate, v'liktsof ad me'od, or to become quite angry or cause anger. All of these were given over to a person through the power of the Yetzer Hara. V'im lo haya Yetzer Hara, if it weren't for the evil inclination, b'shvil eimas hamavis lo haya oisek b'firruya, because of fear of death, a person would not be engaged in being fruitful and multiplying. V'lo haya boneh binyan, and he wouldn't build. V'lo haya mis'ave liknois mikneh v'kinyan. You see, what he's saying was, if it weren't for the Yetzer Hara, that a person would be afraid to be involved, engaged in anything. Why have children? It's just going to be a burden. Why build? It's just work. But the Yetzer Hara makes having children enjoyable. I think that's what he's saying here. Or the desire for, let's say, prestige fuels building a house and acquiring goods. So what he's saying is that the Yetzer Hara actually fuels a lot of productive things that we do. He wouldn't plant. Nor would he seed. He'd say in his heart, since I'm going to die, why should I work hard for somebody else? I'm going to work building a house to leave to somebody else. Why should I do that? The whole world would just go into a state of decay. And God did not create creation from the very inception, other than with the intention of its being built and in order to guide humanity with mercy. And if a person's good inclination overcomes his bad inclination in order to prevent him from sinning against his Creator, in this way he'll use his evil inclination to do everything for the will of God, without transgression. This is what's ultimately good for a person. Happy is such a person, and happy is he who birthed him. The person who uses his Yetzer Tov to, let's say, guide the desires of the Yetzer Hara in order for the person to do the types of things that he wants to do in the right way. So he has a desire to, let's say, be with his spouse. The Yetzer Tov will say, it's true that I have a desire to be with my spouse. The result of that will be having children. But in this way, I'll be contributing to the Jewish people. I'll raise children who I try to educate in the ways of Torah and mitzvos that will benefit the Jewish people and also do the will of God. So that his Yetzer Tov, let's say, pulls the reins in on that Yetzer Hara. And the same thing with the livelihood. I want money in order to fulfill my needs. That Torah tells me earn more and more and more so that you can consume more and more and more. And the Yetzer Tov would say, yes, earn, but that desire would be curbed in order to earn money, not only for the purpose of supporting oneself and fulfilling one's needs, but also to discern what one needs and what doesn't. What one would like and is permitted, and what one would like and is not permitted. And to earn money with the idea that at least some of the proceeds should go towards charity, right? So in this way, the Yetzer Tov is kind of harnessing the drive of the Yetzer Hara for good. Okay, let's stop here.